Released November 1st, 2018 for PC, Switch, and almost for the Wii U by developer and publisher VD Dev, Rise Race the Future is a fast-paced arcade racer that's just exploding with style. Now, this is an old one, but believe me, it's worth the revisit. I first got it on the Switch, and back then I knew this game was something special. It looked and felt great, but somehow I just never got into it. But now, well today, I'm reviewing the PCVR version, and let's just say, as good as the flat version was and still is, VR once again raises the bar. Rise Race the Future VR is a whole new beast. Thanks to the developer for the review key, and if you like what you see here, by the time this review is done, I'll let you know how you can grab a copy of Rise Race the Future for yourself. Spread the word, because even years later, Rise is still worth its weight in gold. While some racing games like the Need for Speed franchise and others have story modes, Rise has none. It's just bare knuckles, no holds barred, adrenaline-filled races, one after the other, so nothing to report on the story front. Straight to visuals. I love the way this game looks, always have, always will, no matter how many new generations I go through. Some games will always hold up well. Even in the headset these visuals still impress. The car models look great and so do the environments. The tracks and overall backgrounds are not as detailed and do lack the pin-sharp textures of your ride, but they still look good. We've got several perspectives to choose from, but unfortunately, you can tell when playing this that Rise was made primarily as a flat game. Then the VR, while not necessarily an afterthought, still took second place, but a close second. There are other elements I'll touch on later which further enforces this point, but the perspectives we have to choose from are pretty weak. The ones which show your car from behind, the third-person styled views are very similar. Then there's the first-person type views. The one which shows the hood of your car makes no sense. You can see this was not intended for VR. It's like the hood of the car is attached to your chest. The full first-person perspective, which shows nothing but track, is fine. But when all is said and done, I found myself sticking to the third-person views. This was no problem really, as I still had a great time, but I can't help to wonder what a cockpit-like view, where you could check your rear-view mirror and such, would have been like. The omission of this proves my point regarding VR being a second priority. There is one rule, or let me call it a tip in racing games, that has served me over the generations and remains relevant to this day. In order to have a successful run, as the driver, your eyes must always be on the road ahead of you, not on your car. Now, this may seem like a given, but many rookies pick up a racing game and their focus is either on the shiny new cars, their opponents, or just a few feet in front. My point is, one of the reasons I had a blast with this in VR, and with a third-person view, was because in VR, you're able to look pretty much anywhere you want. It's not like in a first-person shooter, where wherever your gun is facing, and in racers, wherever your car is facing, that's where you'll be facing. The car can be going straight, and you're able to be looking to the side. You can be taking a deep corner, and are able to be looking way around that bend to plan ahead, if you get what I'm saying. And this made playing this that much better than the flat versions. In the sound department, it's all good. The music, although quite limited, never got old or annoying. Quite relaxing for the menu screens and great for an adrenaline rush during races. The sound effects also worked for me. One might argue the cars sound like glorified vacuum cleaners, and I could see why, but I still liked it. On to gameplay. Clearly the focus here, as mentioned earlier, is racing. No story, no explanations, no driver's bios, nothing. And I'm totally fine with this. On startup, we've got a decent amount of options. More than the console versions. We can tweak the video, the sound, and the controls. There were a few issues here though. First, and this brings me back to the whole VR wasn't top priority thing. There were no VR options. No comfort settings, nothing. Which wasn't a problem for me, as I had no motion sickness issues, but I've been doing this for a while, so that hardly ever happens. A noob may want at least a vignette though. Then, the controls were just weird at first. I couldn't use VR controllers. The controllers were detected as they did something, but clearly this wasn't the way the devs intended for you to play Rise. So I went over into the controller options, selected Xbox One controllers, and that's how I had to play the entire game. Again, this was no problem. I have no problem playing some VR games without motion controllers. I'm coming from the PSVR and those silly Move controllers. There's so many PSVR games I wish had a DS4 option. So playing a racing game in VR with an Xbox One controller was fine for me. My first couple of races, the controls felt really sensitive. I was oversteering all over the tracks. But this was due to the default car I was driving and the fact that I was rusty. In no time I got my skills back and was drifting like a pro. We got only a handful of game modes here. A challenge mode and an arcade mode. A championship and a time attack mode are in the arcade mode, while in the challenge mode, that's where you unlock new cars, tracks, and stickers. Before each race, you not only choose your ride, but you can also do a bit of customizing. You can change the color of your sticker designs, most of which look real sweet. You can also adjust how your boost works. Let's say you prefer your boost to recharge while drifting, or at the beginning of a new lap. You can set that as well. I started off in the championship mode first, as I always do in racing games, but soon learned that I was being incentivized to play the challenge mode first, which was pretty good. Like I said, challenge mode is where you get your car unlocks. And while most of these unlicensed cars look a bit similar, they do differ greatly in performance. And the right car will go a long way in determining your overall success. In challenge mode, you'll get various objectives. Challenges like never be overtaken, drift a certain amount of times or distance, never use boost, beat a particular rival car, use your handbrakes, and so on. I found these challenges to be quite entertaining and left me with a certain sense of pride and accomplishment after completing each one. You'd need to complete an entire challenge season, however, to get a new car, which is reasonable. There is this unique thing Rise does, where your car transforms into a hovercraft when going over water. This looks cool as all hell and was executed with an appreciated balance. While the driving physics do change accordingly, there was never a huge disparity between driving on land or water. The devs did not make the water aspect of Rise a chore. It was always a smooth transition between the two, and I was never left frustrated or worried each time the terrain changed. The tracks were also really well designed, not just looks. The topography kept me busy and engaged. The humps, the turns, and of course the transitions between land and water were real entertaining. Each new track unlocked and introduced was a treat in its own right. I could have used some night tracks though, but no love lost. The weather did change though. And I love the way your ride, although it could not sustain damage, would get dirty based on your environment. Nothing new, but I'll always appreciate attention paid to such details. There were no replays. While no deal breaker, I do love to sit back and watch a good replay. And of course, if you're not into VR or not up to it at any given time, you can play this as you would on consoles, flat. But I wasn't about to do that. Great job on adding VR to an already cool racer VD dev. I appreciate the effort. And if any of you watching stuck it out this far, then at least one of you deserves a little something something. The developers gave me an extra Steam key. Don't take my word for it. Try this baby on for size and form your own opinions. There'll be no jumping through hoops like with other channels. All you gotta do to get this key is show the devs some love and appreciation by letting them know what they did right in the comments. What was it about this game that caught your eye? That makes you want to try it out for yourself, and that's that. Rise, Race the Future is yours for keeps. Thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. If you like my content, if my weird movie trailer guy, college professor voice and accent weren't too annoying, then feel free to drop a like, leave a comment, and maybe hit that sub button for good measure. If on the other hand, I did in fact find a way to piss you off with this one, then hey, dislike, unsub, leave a nasty comment, and all that fun stuff. Either way, I won't hold it against you. Our game is never over.